Ladies and gentlemen, we can often get cynical about the state of things in the world, fall in a cycle of despair, as though the horrors and deprivations of our modern world can never be overturned or undone. But then at our lowest, we get images like these from this weekend. A moment in time of pure, unalloyed joy. The delirious, almost uncomprehending excitement for a people celebrating a suddenly bright and hopeful new future. Yes, even the people of Syria are celebrating the New York Mets signing Juan Soto. Chanting. You heard them. You heard them in the streets chanting. I can only assume we're going to the series. I kid, of course. Those images were jubilant Syrians celebrating the end of the 50-year rule of the murderous, despotic Assad family, a result that would have seemed incomprehensible even 2 weeks ago. And you know what's the real deal? Because they sealed it with the universal symbol of fallen dictatorships, the traditional toppling of the statues. They pulled them down with rope. They toppled the horse one. They knocked over the one where Assad signaled field goal. They even paraded Assad's head through the streets like a decapitated Charlie Brown in the Macy's Day Parade. And if I may, a quick word to the many remaining despots in the Middle East. It is my deepest hope that when you see this footage, you realize once and for all that you are really skimping on statue structural integrity. Because when you are overthrown, and you will be, they're just going through these statues like it's tissue paper. I mean, this one here, look at this one here. Guy just pushes it over with one hand. It's all there. Boom. It's just one guy. This statue is a symbol of my eternal power and iron fist that, oh no, don't touch it. It's just clay and pressed wood shavings. Father always told me if it's worth putting up a symbol of autocracy, it's worth doing it right. And while the dictators could have made it fun for people by filling the statues with candy or something, Assad's former subjects are still finding a way to have fun with the toppled totems. It's like their new public transport system. Some kind of Syrian version of a Club Med banana boat. By the way, I don't speak Arabic, but I'm pretty sure that what they were chanting there is, mustache rides 5 cents. Oh, I know that fella there is feeling the sweet taint of freedom. But while statue Assad is being teabagged in the streets, actual Assad has left the building.
Assad fleeing with his family to Russia, where he had been granted asylum on humanitarian grounds.
Oh, the night that they hug. Oh, that's so sweet. Yes, Putin has given Assad humanitarian asylum and then immediately sent him to go fight in Ukraine. They're very short-handed. But obviously it's a great decision by Assad. I think no leader can go wrong in their exile choice by posing one simple question to themselves. What would Steven Seagal do? But if Assad is in Russia, you know what that means. Nobody's home at the palace. It's open house, people. The estate sale begins. Crowds are pillaging the palace. They are sitting in his chairs. They are taking pictures in his chair. They are stealing more chairs. Was there some kind of terrible seating problem in this country? The people are rushing the palace, and they're just taking the chairs. People are coming out like, don't bother going in, the good chairs are gone. All that's left is money, jewelry, and antiquities. In fact, I want to show you real quick my favorite moment from the looting of Assad's palace. A gentleman in the palatial room, frustrated that this chair is not reclining. Are there no depths to Assad's depravity? Where are the cup holders? And obviously this is surprising because in that part of the world you'd think there'd be an abundance of at least ottomans. There's an empire of them. What was startling to me is how quickly the whole thing unfolded. I mean, how long did it take to overthrow the Assad regime?
The regime overthrown by rebel fighters in just 11 days.
How did they manage to end a decade-long civil war and defeat the entire Syrian military in just 11 days? And wait, zoom in on there. Is that zoom? Are you kidding me? No! There's no way! That guy? What? How did... Is that where he rode that city bike? Is that... Actually, obviously couldn't have been that guy. Today, they did appear to catch that guy today at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. It's true. Look, I'm sorry, guys. Apparently, a bystander at the McDonald's ratted him out. And normally, I would say, snitches get stitches. But obviously, without pre-approval, there's really... Seriously, though, I want to meet the rebel mastermind who overthrew this entrenched regime.
The leader of the Islamist rebel group, Abu Mohammad al-Jolani, arriving triumphantly in Damascus, addressing a crowd at a mosque.
My God, all hail Syrian John Turturro. Tell me more about this modern-day George Washington.
Syrian rebel leader Abu Mohammad al-Jolani, who's been on the U.S. terror watch list since 2013.
Significant portions of al-Jolani's group maintain strong links to ISIS.
A former al-Qaeda member.
He's got a $10 million bounty on his head.
Ooh, $10 million, eh? Ooh. Hope he never ends up in a McDonald's in Altoona. Okay, so we've got a former al-Qaeda guy in charge now. What does he have planned for the new Syria? I'm assuming it's some Taliban-esque, brutal, fundamentalist dystopia.
There must be a legal framework that protects and ensures the rights of all, not a system that serves only one sect.
I ask God Almighty that this be a conquest free of revenge, but a conquest entirely of mercy and love.
Conquest of mercy and love? I think that's how Taylor ended the Eras tour. Wait, the new leader of Syria is a Swiftie? How many terror groups is that guy in? This is a joke. I'm a Swiftie. Seriously, though, how did an al-Qaeda associate suddenly turn into Deepak Chopra?
You've gone through quite the transformation once an al-Qaeda leader, and now you are projecting this image of a moderate leader and a moderate group.
I believe that everyone in life goes through phases and experiences, and these experiences naturally increase a person's awareness. A person in their 20s will have a different personality than someone in their 30s or 40s.
I get it. Who amongst us hasn't gone through an emo phase or a goth phase or a 9/11 phase, you know? You know how kids are. I don't like jihad anymore, Dad. I'm into horses.
Let's start with the breaking news. For the last few days, there's been a killer on the loose in America. Well, there's actually tons of killers on the loose in America, but this one killed someone important, so they were really looking for him. And personally, I'm glad they found him yesterday. Call me old-fashioned, but I think murdering people in cold blood by shooting them in the back is wrong. So I'm glad that this ice-cold assassin is off the streets. Let's find out more about his dark and mysterious past.
Police officially charging 26-year-old Luigi Mangione.
Whoa, hold on. What? The assassin's name is Luigi Mangione? Did they find him hiding in a big pipe? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The cops were able to locate him after following the trail of fettuccine Alfredo leading out of Central Park. It's okay. I can make fun of Italians because Italians annoy the shit out of me. But fine. He's Italian. Does that mean he's a criminal? Probably. But what evidence do they have that this is the guy?
According to court records, the suspected killer had 3D printed ghost gun on him, several fake IDs, $8,000 in cash, and a 3-page handwritten manifesto.
Okay, that's a lot of evidence. What else did they find on him? Was he wearing a T-shirt that said, "I shot a CEO and all I got is this lousy T-shirt"? Also, are they sure that New Jersey ID was fake? I feel like if your name is Luigi Mangione, you're born with a New Jersey ID, it just slides out with you like the placenta. But we can't give all the credit to the Altoona police just because they caught him. Because the NYPD, well, they did their part too. They were scouring the city for days. They were looking in the bushes. They looked on some other bushes. Here they're standing on a rock. Hey, should I look in that bush? I don't want to do that stuff. New York's finest. Don't get me wrong. They didn't spend the whole time barely looking in the bushes.
The breakthrough in the case came as police divers continued to search a lake in New York Central Park for items dumped by the assassin.
Great work. They're like, hey, you guys looking for the killer? We're going to see if he wished on any lucky pennies down here. Hey, did the killer use a gun? Because we found 5,000 of them down here. So now that we know who the suspect is, it's time for society to indulge in its favorite pastime, obsessing over every detail about this guy's life like he's a K-pop idol.
Mangione comes from a prominent Maryland family, which owns multiple country clubs in the state.
He was valedictorian at his graduation from a $40,000 a year private school with a carnation in his buttonhole.
Oh, a carnation in his buttonhole. Not like one of those peasants who fills his buttonholes with buttons, I guess. But see, this is why I don't want to send my kids to private school, because if they become a murderer someday, that tuition, what a waste of money, right? And that's why I support public education. Thank you. That didn't get the response I anticipated, but that's okay. It's surprising that he comes from such a privileged background. He's not really the kind of guy you'd expect to become a murderer. I mean, I expect him to crash the housing market, but not kill a guy. So we know he was privileged. He was apparently smart, but were there any other clues that something might be going wrong?
He spent time in Hawaii at a co-living space during 2022 and 2023. And two people who knew Mangione during that time say that he was dealing with frequent back pain due to an injury. One added that Mangione started a book club, but several members left due to discomfort over what he chose to read. An online book review from January of this year, apparently written by Mangione, praises some of the writings of the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah, you know, this is a classic mistake. You never want to start your book club with the Unabomber. I mean, you kick it off with some Sally Rooney, then a little Jonathan Franzen, then when everybody's like, we're so bored, that's when you hit them with the mail bomb stuff, okay? But if you're looking for something that will make you a hit with your book club, well, try this one. Lucky Loser. Adventures in Tennis and Comedy by me, Michael Kosta. This is an actual real book that I wrote, and it's available to pre-order now for the holidays. Consider it my manifesto for wanting your money. So his medical issues could have been a motivation. The Ted Kaczynski love could have been a red flag. And recently there was something else raising alarm bells.
Mangione was in regular contact with friends and family until about 6 months ago when he suddenly and inexplicably stopped communicating with them.
In July, a friend messaged him on X, "Hey man, I need you to call me. You made commitments to me for my wedding, and if you can't honor them, I need to know so I can plan accordingly."
Yeah. Sorry, bro, but Luigi was busy planning the most important day of his life, okay? But this is a good reminder. When you get mad at someone for not responding, be kind. You never know what they're going through. They might be plotting an assassination. But now this guy's been arrested, and normally, most people believe that getting a suspected killer off the streets is a good thing. But that's not exactly what happened this time.
Surging support on social media for murder suspect Luigi Mangione, the hashtag #FreeLuigi trending worldwide.
Y'all saying murderer, I'm saying freedom fighter.
The comments posted in reaction to the CNN news post, brutal. McDonald's employees snitched on a working class hero, 251 likes. I hope someone creates a GoFundMe for his legal defense. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear backpacks. Does he need someone to corroborate his alibi? Because I got him.
Yes, these horrible comments should never be repeated. And now let me read all of them slowly on national television. Look, I understand that we all hate insurance companies. I happen to think America needs free, universal health care funded by taxes. But shooting a real human in the back is not heroic, and it's not going to get people what they want. And if you want real change, well, we have to realize that comes from a lot of people working together, doing a lot of small things, organizing, educating, voting for politicians who will actually pass universal health care. And that might not be exciting or thrilling or sexy, but if you want that, why don't you pick up a copy of my new book, Lucky Loser? It's available for pre-order now, and it's inspired 0 murders so far. Now, there is one other reason this guy's built such a fan base. He's a total snack.
And also, let's not get around the fact a lot of people find the man attractive, and so that has become this whole thing.
Could he be the new hot felon?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there was talks about how some people were saying he was an attractive-looking killer.
So much of the clips we were watching at the top of this segment are driven by the fact that this is an attractive. We got to drop the banner to show why. And it is deeply troubling that we are celebrating this person.
I love how CNN is like, I can't believe people are romanticizing this monster control room. Can we zoom in on his giant dong? My question is he really even that hot? I mean, take away the hair and the abs, the face, the arm, that easy smile, the way his eyes light up. I'm sorry, what are we talking about? Syria? What are we talking? Oh, we're talking about the guy with the incredible abs. I know everyone's getting all horned up because he's got muscles, but that's not what makes a man. You know what does? Providing for your family. Watching most of a documentary, thinking about Googling a charity you heard about. That's masculinity, all right? Let's begin with the story. Everyone is still talking about the arrest of Luigi Mangione, alleged CEO killer, and the reason conjugal visit is trending on Google. Everyone's been wondering what his motivation was, and now they have his manifesto. Although, for a manifesto, it's surprisingly modest.
The U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have space. And frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument.
Okay. I don't really know what I'm talking about is a surprising thing to put in a manifesto. This is the first murder manifesto I've read that could have ended with, but no worries if not. You know, either way, You never see the Taliban like, death to America, although we're not experts, so grain of salt. Now, whether he's guilty or not will be decided by a trial, but one thing we know for certain, Mangione is making everyone manja-horny.
And Lilia, I know you were inside that courtroom today with the suspect. How was he behaving?
Nora, it was remarkable. He walked in confident. At times he seemed defiant. He was looking around. He kept looking back. And a couple of times I felt like he was making eye contact.
He looked at me. He saw me. We had a moment. And Nora, I'm getting new reports just now that I can change him. Okay. Can I just say, this is confusing as a straight man to me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do to attract women. One day it's do more work around the house. The next it's be a better listener. And now apparently it's execute the leader of a Fortune 500 company. Which one is it, ladies? Let's move on to someone who never has to go to court again in another edition of Trump 2.0, coming for the White House.
I'm gonna come.
Look, there are over 20 countries in the world, and the president has to appoint an ambassador to every one of them. And being an ambassador, it's a pretty sweet gig, all right? You get paid 6 figures to move to some mansion in another country, and you can't even get arrested when you plow into a group of tourists with your motorcycle. It's basically a dream. And Trump just announced the latest lucky person to get one of these coveted positions.
President-elect Donald Trump tapping another loyalist with close family ties to fill out his administration, naming Kimberly Guilfoyle to be ambassador to Greece.
Kimberly Guilfoyle. Why does that ring a bell? Why does that hurt my ears?
She has no diplomatic experience, but she's a longtime Trump loyalist, firing up the Republican National Convention during his 2020 re-election campaign.
The best is yet to come.
That's it. I remember. The screaming lady. It's the screaming lady. Although I guess in Greece, that's considered normal volume, maybe. Now, you might be wondering, why is Trump appointing Kimberly Guilfoyle if she has no diplomatic experience and seemingly no ties to Greece? Well, it turns out it might be a consolation prize.
In a statement, the president-elect calling her a close friend and praising her sharp intellect. But he made no mention of her 4-year-long engagement to his eldest son, amid tabloid rumors that Donald Trump Jr. is now dating someone new.
Wow. What a great way to end a relationship. Forget about listen, it's not you, it's me. Now we've got listen. How would you like to be the ambassador to Greece? Good for Kimberly to score this position after a breakup. Last time one of my relationships ended, I couldn't even get my Valtrex back. Now, it's okay, she needs it now too, so. Bon voyage, Kimberly, your relationship is over, but now you get to move to Greece, or as you might say,
the best is yet to come.
Oh my God, it still hurts. Meanwhile, things are a little rockier for a different Trump appointee, Pete Hegseth, nominee for Secretary of Defense and veteran of multiple tours with Captain Morgan. Last week, his nomination looked like it was in big trouble, probably because people were worried he'd have to blow into a breathalyzer before entering the Situation Room. But let's check in on how it's going now.
After a rocky start, Pete Hegseth, President-elect Trump's intended choice to lead the Pentagon, is on the rebound.
He's much better off this week than he was last week.
Some Republicans, including ones like Senator Tommy Tuberville out of Alabama, someone who's very close to Donald Trump, have brushed off these reports of excessive drinking.
Is he a drunk? I mean, does he hang out in bars every night? Does he drink for lunch and dinner and breakfast?
Does he piss martinis and shit olives? No? Well, then give this man a security clearance. I'm sorry, but he's not drunk every second of his life. It's a pretty low bar. Which, by the way, is the only bar that Pete Hegseth hasn't been thrown out of. Look, you can argue what the exact definition of a drinking problem is, but I think a good barometer is everyone in the country talking about how much you drink? Then you probably have a drinking problem. So That's one excuse for putting Hegseth in charge of the Defense Department. But let's hear another one from Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Yes, that's his name.
What I'm saying is, when you're talking about drinking at 10 in the morning, that's a drinking problem. Now, it doesn't mean that there should be a stigma.
Then there's a lot of politicians that have a drinking problem, Jake.
Yes, of course. But I guess my question is...
Yeah, and then there's probably a lot of media that has a drinking problem, too.
Yeah. A lot of people have drinking problems, but they're not trying to run the Pentagon. So, yeah, it's different. It's different. And you agree. That's why you're clapping. It's like he's saying, oh, nobody cared about my drinking before I got behind the wheel, and now all of a sudden it's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. Yeah. Ultimately, it's worse if you're an alcoholic in certain jobs. Like, you don't want to have an alcoholic pilot, but a drunk Daily Show host? I mean, what's the worst that happens? I pee myself behind the desk, and I need LaToya to bring me new pants right now. LaToya, new pants. LaToya, new pants. But even if he's confirmed, Pete seems to understand that being blackout drunk 23 hours a day might be a problem, which is why he's offering to change.
He's been telling members of the Senate Republican Conference that if he were confirmed as Secretary of Defense, he would not drink alcohol at all. He would abstain from drinking.
This is the biggest deployment of my life, and there won't be a drop of alcohol on my lips while I'm doing it.
It's good enough for me. When has an alcoholic ever promised to do better and not followed through? What a deal. Just put me in charge of the largest military in history, and I'll stop drinking. By the way, Jell-O shots don't count as drinking. That's eating. That's a solid. And it seems like it's good enough for Donald Trump, too.
The fact that there are these allegations against him, the fact that he said to some senators reportedly he'll stop drinking if he gets this job, does that worry you?
No, I think that everybody has something that they can stop. Some people can stop eating. I'm lucky I'm not a drinker, but I could stop eating.
All right. I think I speak for everyone when I say, sir, no, you couldn't. All right. I guess he means eating junk food. But still, there's a big difference between alcoholism and eating. No one's ever said, Dad, you came home full again. You know what's weird? It's almost like the revelations about Hegseth's drinking have helped him. Because now it feels like if he can just steamroll the senators on this one issue, he wins. Like the whole completely unqualified part about his resume is totally forgotten. But don't forget, if this guy quits drinking to become Secretary of Defense, his only qualification is that he quit drinking to become Secretary of Defense. So this morning, the editor of Time magazine came on TV to reveal who this year's person was, even though the moment you see the editor's face, you know right away it's Donald Trump.
And here to make the announcement, Time's editor-in-chief, Sam Jacobs.
I'm super excited to be here. Please don't be mad when it's the person we had to pick.
Who is it going to be?
The person of the year who, for better or for worse, had the most influence on the news in 2024 is Donald Trump.
Okay, there it is. Donald Trump, 2024 Person of the Year.
That's the most unenthusiastic reveal I've ever seen. That's how I act when my sister gives me scented lotion for Christmas. Okay, there it is. Pomegranate Dream. Thank you. Now, obviously, Donald Trump is the person of the year. At this point, he's basically America's main character. So him winning is not surprising. What was surprising were the finalists.
These were the 5 finalists here in no particular order. Vice President Kamala Harris, the Princess of Wales, Elon Musk, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and President-elect Donald Trump.
Okay, look, no disrespect, but Kate Middleton was a finalist over Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the president of the United States. I mean, sure, Kate Middleton is the leader of Hamas, but still, it should be the sitting president as a finalist, but I guess once again, time has not been kind to Joe Biden. But also, why did they put Kamala Harris on the list? I know they're trying to pay her some respect, but all they did was just make her lose to Donald Trump again. love, we just entered you in a golf tournament at Mar-a-Lago. Oh, guess you lost again. Longest tie contest. Oh, lost again. Anyway, Donald Trump was happy to win, and he accepted his award with a speech at the New York Stock Exchange. Although because he's the people's president, he made sure to highlight the very real stories of real Americans who are really suffering for real.
I tell the story about a woman an old woman, no money, went to a grocery store, had 3 apples. She put them down on the counter, and she looked, and she saw the price, and she said, "Would you excuse me?" And she walked one of the apples back to the refrigerator and came back to pay for the 2 apples. And she left with 2 apples, and the woman at the counter said that was so sad.
Yeah. You know, never in America should an old woman be forced to return an apple to the refrigerator at the grocery store where they always keep the apples. Now, that poor old woman can't afford her 3-apple lunch. She can only buy 2 apples, and if she's anything like the old women I see at my grocery store, and her carton of cigarettes and scratch-off tickets. But, by the way, that old woman's name? Granny Smith. Really makes you think. Really makes you think. Seriously. Seriously, that was the worst story I've ever heard. That's like when my daughter is refusing to go to bed and she asks me to make up a story. Oh, yeah, once there was an old woman. She tried to buy 3 apples, then she ended up buying 2. Okay, sweetie, Dada has to go watch Shogun. Good night. Let's move on to another story that's been gathering steam for a few days, and the big question that's on everybody's mind.
What is going on in New Jersey?
Yeah, beats me. I don't know. Beats me, buddy. But what's actually going on is pretty bizarre.
People in New Jersey are concerned and demanding information after a wave of mysterious drone sightings.
Since last month, dozens of drones mysteriously hovering in the skies at night.
A New Jersey legislator posting on X that the drones appear much larger than typical hobby drones, in some cases up to 6 feet. They often fly with their lights off, making them harder to detect.
That's right. UFOs over New Jersey, or as they call them in New Jersey, unidentified objects. Oh! Now, mysterious drones in the sky are scary, and they raise a lot of questions, like, could they shoot me? You know? And after the year this has been, could they please shoot me? And now the people of New Jersey are pointing their phones at the sky.
That is not an airplane.
It looks like a spaceship.
Not a plane. That is a drone in the airspace.
Definitely not planes. And there were too many of them. There's no way planes could fly that close together.
You can hear that one. That is definitely a plane.
Don't worry, guys. New Jersey's on the case. In this drone looks a lot like my finger. Now, there might be a simple explanation for all this, but this is America, and we pride ourselves on doing our own research. So, cue the X-Files.
What's going on in America? Why doesn't our government tell us what's going on in these skies?
The other night, there was, right here over Picatinny, there was a drone just hanging out. I put my drone up in the air and went towards it. I had full battery life. Not 3 minutes into the flight, I lost control of the drone.
One family claims they followed a drone in their car, and while it hovered above them, the clock in their car changed times. Then they say the clock went back to normal after they drove off.
You know, Americans aren't allowed to look up anymore. And this all sounds like the world's most boring Steven Spielberg movie. No, I wasn't abducted, but my clock was slightly off for 1 minute. People are so dramatic, but I'm sure the New Jersey cops can clear all this up.
New Jersey State Police and the state's Office of Homeland Security say that the state has no information about who is behind the drones and why they're flying them.
Authorities in Toms River, New Jersey, launching their own drone offensive for a closer look.
I think I know what's going on here. We spotted a drone in the sky, so we're going to launch a drone to find out what. Holy shit, now there's 2 drones up there. We should put another drone. Holy shit, there's 3 drones up there. But you know what? Forget the local police. If we want answers, we should ask New Jersey's elected officials. They were elected for a reason, and they can provide us with sane, informed explanation.
New Jersey Representative Jeff Van Drew on cable news claiming he's been privy to top secret information about the drones.
From very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off, I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America.
Look, I know some of you are like, hey, can you stop making fun of New Jersey? You elected this guy. No. Holy shit, there's an Iranian mothership launching drones off the East Coast? Oh, you know what? Probably to gather intelligence on New Jersey's rich tapestry of shopping malls. This is huge, though. This is a national emergency, and a congressman said it, so it's definitely true.
The Pentagon Wednesday striking down claims that Iran is behind those drones.
There is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States, and there's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States.
No mothership? So you're telling me is that Iran doesn't have Independence Day technology? Can I still blame Iran for all my other problems? Because that was going to be my defense on all those reckless driving tickets. But this is progress, actually, because clearly the federal government knows what these things are. And all we got to do is ask them.
Tony Gonzalez, the congressman, had this question for the assistant FBI director. Watch.
You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
What? Wait a minute. The federal government, despite the bazillion dollars it spends every year on surveillance, doesn't know what's going on here? I texted the word vacation once to my wife 3 weeks ago, and Google's still serving me ads for Airbnbs. But there's an invasion of sky robots right now above our heads, and the FBI's like, oh, no. You know, this tells me two things. One, we need to devote way more resources to our oppressive surveillance state. And two, there's some really good deals on Airbnbs in Slovenia, so pack your bags.